Welcome to the Nerd Pastors excuse me. Excuse me. Welcome to the Nerd Pastors podcast. A place where faith and fandom collide. We're talking Batman today, and with me as always, Seth Muse. Seth, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm okay. I'm in a dishevel. I'm disheveled. Is that a word?
Disheveled?
Disheveled.
Disheveled. Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving. So all of my stuff is all over the place in boxes. I actually had to unpack my microphone because I forgot we were doing this today. And so I had to go set it up really quick, like this mock setup kind of thing. So it's crazy, but we're excited. So I'm doing good, man.
You look good and you sound good. And if you're watching this, how? Because this is an audio podcast, but I was recently encouraged. Shout out to my friend Kevin Colby. You can go find him on YouTube. He's a friend I met at a video content creation conference. Yeah, a couple years ago, and he's a really cool guy. And he did a live stream where he's basically like, hey, if you got an audio podcast, record the video, put it on YouTube, get it in front of more people. Some people, they don't have podcast apps, but they'll find you on YouTube. So, hey, if there's any nerd pastors out there that want to talk Batman and hear our thoughts on the Batman of the history, the actors, the movies, Iron Man versus Batman, and eventually we'll talk about the Batman, the movie. We'll talk about that at the end. Hey, glad you found us. Glad you're here watching us. So Seth, you're not, I wouldn't consider you a sidekick. I would consider more of like your alternate universe, maybe New 52 Batman of the show. But I would consider our Robin, who's been here quite often. He came in later. He's really been a great addition to the team. Ricky Pope, welcome.
Hello there. Good to be here.
Thanks, Ricky, for being here. And I suppose that makes Doug. Doug is with us, and I guess you'll be our Alfred. Does that sound?
Yeah. I'll be great to clean up the mess and take care of any difficulties.
Yeah. I think that'll that'll be great. And as a guy who runs a men's ministry, you got to really train them up in the way they should go. The way Alfred has kind of trained, the way they retconned Alfred in the new Batman movie. Who raise your hands? And for those that are listening, is there anyone here, Ricky, Doug, or Seth? Have y'all all seen the new Batman movie?
Yes.
Ricky, you have not seen it.
I have not.
So you're going to bow out before we go into spoiler discussion. And I will, for everyone wondering, if you haven't seen the Batman, feel free to keep watching or listening. We'll do Batman spoiler discussion at the end because I think there is quite a few things that stood out to me. But non-spoiler review, the new Batman movie, I think is really good. It's really long. Everyone I talked to about the new Batman movie, the first, I said, how what do you think? And they're like, boy, it was long. If that's kind of like when you go to church and like, hey, how was church service? Boy, it was long. Like, bro, your pastor doesn't have to preach for 90 minutes,
Right. It was long. I mean, but I only think at one point I felt like, man, is this still going? We still have movie to go. When I was doing it, because I saw it like at the 9:00 show, and so
oh my goodness,
I didn't really notice how long it was until I got out and went, dude, it's midnight
tomorrow.
What? I didn't realize it was. So for me, it kind of went fast, but or it didn't go fast. It did not go fast, but it definitely did not seem like as long as it actually was. So because I enjoyed it too. I thought it was a really great take on Batman. Different. Very different than anything else we've seen in so many ways, which I thought was interesting. But
there are so many good examples we can get into in spoiler discussion, but this was I think the first true early Batman movie. I mean, they say it was year 1, year 2, and even more so than Batman Begins. It kind of makes, and I'll just say this, it kind of makes Batman Begins. It makes Christopher Nolan's Bruce Wayne Batman kind of seem like a Mary Sue. Like nothing went wrong for Batman and Batman's Begins.
Yes,
just nailed everything.
I even said, like, I was in the theater, and as the Batman opens, I said, is this year 1? because that's one of my favorite comics of Batman. Is the year one comic. It just shows the whole. And then I was like, nope, this is year 3. We're good. So it's not year 1, but it definitely has that feel, and that was really cool.
Yeah, Doug, what did you think of the Batman? Non-spoiler.
I haven't got to see it yet.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you did see it.
Well, I was going to, but I got tied up and did not make it. But that's okay. I love spoilers and stuff anyway, and I've read all the stuff online, so I'm good to go. But as far as the length, I mean, that kind of has to happen when you do the noir type shooting, because it takes so long to build that stuff up.
True.
And what I'm looking forward to is the fact that they're going with the world's greatest detective in this one versus and that's not a spoiler, that they're promoting that part of it. So.
It really is heavy on the detective part of Batman, and I think that's great. That's something that I fell in love with in the Arkham games. I believe Arkham Knight the most had a lot of really good detective stuff, and I kind of realized like, oh yeah, he's the world's greatest detective, and they really lean on that. I think that's really cool. So, Ricky, without having seen it, kind of what are your expectations after everything you're hearing? Are you thinking it's going to be another Dark Knight, or is this going to be a Batman Forever situation? Or no, Batman and Robin. Batman Forever was the good one. Batman and Robin.
Oh, when you said Batman Forever is the good one. I don't know if that's accurate.
No. That Batman and Robin.
It's not the worst one. It's not the worst one. But
you're thinking Batman
not
Returns. I think you're thinking of Batman Returns.
Oh my goodness. But I thought I have an expectation of this being something we haven't seen. And watching all the trailers, watching all the, I've been following the early set pictures since they just started showing up and people weren't sure they were real. And it just has always struck me that this feels a little more grounded. It feels a little more real. It feels a little less super heroic and more what Batman kind of would really be like. But
more psycho in a bat suit.
Yes. Yeah. A little more psycho in a bat suit. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And I've been looking forward to seeing the new actor. I'm always happy to see somebody take over and see what their take of it is. And he is a great actor. It's nice to see a vampire become bat from time to time, but I won't give him too much grief because he really is a good actor outside of that.
Yeah, yes.
The only thing I really know Robert Pattinson from his recent work is Tenet, and Tenet is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It is one of my favorite quote unquote time travel movies. And so as we got closer to release and people started expressing their concerns, I haven't seen Dune yet, by the way. But I was like, hey, I think he'll do great. And apparently he's been really killing it on the indie film scene, which I don't watch a lot of indie films. So, I thought it was pretty cool. I think he did a really good job. And the other thing too, being early Batman, he's still figuring out who he is. Which kind of maybe is a good thing for us to ask ourselves and kind of get our take on it. Who wears the mask? Does Batman wear the Bruce Wayne mask, or does Bruce Wayne wear the Batman mask?
Well, in my view, it's always been the bat is the real man. I've always been a firm believer in that Bruce died the same night his parents did. Mm. And that's one reason why I like the Nolan trilogy so much, is I think that he got it right. Bruce is the mask that he wears when he has to interact with the public. He really is Batman. Just like with Superman, Clark is the real man, not the cape.
Yeah,
I agree completely.
And that
they put a line in the Nolan trilogy about that. There was a line. So then I found out about your mask, and he's like, no, that man's just a symbol. No, this mask, the one you wear, the Bruce Wayne, that's the mask. Yeah. I thought that's what I've always thought too.
And that was something they caught early on. Now I after watching The Batman and listening to a lot of podcast reviews and YouTube videos, I mean, we just had a baby, so I can't like sit there and watch TV while I feed it and play with it. But I always have an AirPod in, and I'm usually listening to whatever comes up on YouTube. And a lot of them were talking about how it pulls from so much of year 1 and 2, more of year 2. And so I decided to go to my library, and unfortunately they didn't have anything. Of course, all the early Batman trades are because I don't want to buy it so much because I know I'm going to read it once and I'll never read it again, but I'll get it from the library. And of course they're all on back order, so I had to like put my name in the hold list, and maybe in 6 weeks I'll get Batman year 1 and then Dark Knight Returns and then whatever comes after that. But they were saying like it really it's kind of established in year 2, I think they said, where Alfred is like, hey, people are going to start. I think Michael Caine, I think he said something about that. Like if Batman breaks his legs and then Bruce Wayne is walking around on a crutches, people are going to connect the two. And so Alfred said, you really need to enhance your Bruce Wayne persona. And, you know, that way, if you break your leg, you can say, oh, I broke my leg skiing in Aspen or something like that. And so that's why, you know, Christopher Nolan kind of just skipped that, where he was just always Bruce Wayne and Batman and the Playboy and stuff. And apparently in the year 1 in the earlier books, which I haven't read yet, I'm excited to dig deeper into like that early foundational Batman. So Batman, if Bruce Wayne died when he was a kid, was Batman born on that day? He just didn't have that name, or was there like a purgatory period until he figured out what his purpose is going to be?
Yeah, there was basically the purgatory period until he fell in, till the bat came through the window, and he remembered the memories of falling into the cave as a kid when his dad rescued him.
Yeah,
and it just kind of all coalesced at that point.
Yeah, I think like there's got to be
his dad,
figuring out.
Sorry, Seth. Well, his dad talked about, you know, fear and stuff when he found him, and Bruce kind of flipped that on its head when the bat came through the window.
Seth, if you had to dress up as your fear and to be a vigilante at night, what would you dress up as?
Oh man, well, I'm just not afraid of anything, Justin. So it's really hard to tell what that would be. Maybe snakes. I don't know. Some kind of snake creature.
Would you be a giant snake or like a person made up of mini snakes?
No, I'd probably have like a weapon that shot snakes at people.
Ah, okay.
And that would be like, it was like a snake launching mechanism where literally my fear becomes yours because I throw it on you.
Which then leaves the question, how do you catch the snakes?
Oh my goodness.
And every time I shoot one or throw one, I'll go snake-a-rang, and it doesn't come back. And I'm like, these things
yeah, it shouldn't come back. You don't want it to come back.
No, I don't. Snake-a-pult.
Yeah, it's instead of batarangs, you have
flying kick-a-pow. Yeah. Yeah.
Ricky, what are your thoughts on Batman's identity?
You know, this is something I've only really started thinking too much heavily about, but I do think it feels more genuine to say that Bruce Wayne is the persona he puts on. He's always dark and brooding. He's always, you know, contemplating what, you know, how to survive his life as it stands and get through, and, you know, and later on how to help people in general. But then he has to go put on a show from time to time as Bruce Wayne, because he is Playboy, philanthropist, you know, whatever else he is, you know. So he has to put on this show from time to time. I'm an introvert naturally, but I was a worship pastor for 15 years. And so I would walk into the church on Sunday mornings, and I had to put on a show. I had to put on this mask of, I'm the guy and I'm excited to see everybody. And when everything was over, I would come home and I would crash for hours.
I think you're gonna get a lot of amens from the people watching and listening to this. I've heard that too. Oh, I'm an introvert.
Same.
No, you're not. You're not an introvert. Even my wife would be like, all right, like before we would go into a party or something, she'd be like, all right, it's time to turn it on. Just flip the switch.
Yes.
And just be Bruce Wayne.
It's like,
absolutely.
Okay. Here we go.
Psych yourself
All
up.
right.
Yep.
Here we go.
And then when you get home,
Party.
it's just, you turn on the Xbox and you're like, don't talk. Nobody talk to me. I'm not even checking the phone. Yep.
Exactly. And I see that as, that's the kind of person that Batman Bruce Wayne is. He is the dark. He is the brooding. He is the, contemplating these things that have happened through his life. And now but he still has to put on this show from time to time.
Right. So let me ask you this. So as far as actors go, who played the best Bruce Wayne and who played the best Batman? Because I actually think they're separate actors.
Yes.
I actually think I think Michael Keaton was the best Bruce Wayne.
He was great.
And I think the Batman, withholding the Batman, because we've only seen him one time. I really enjoyed Christopher Nolan's Batman, Christian Bale's Batman. I really enjoyed that Batman. What did you all think?
I agree with that entirely. And that's one reason why I wasn't upset when Pattinson was announced for this movie, is because I went through the horror that was the lead up to Michael Keaton being Batman. And then once the first one came out, everybody's like, they couldn't have picked anybody better.
Yeah. Same with Heath Ledger. The whole thing with Joker. I mean, nobody thought he would do it.
One of the podcasts I was listening to was like, I was one of the most vehement opponents of Heath Ledger Joker, like, because I mean, and you got Brokeback Mountain, Knight's Tale, the Heath Ledger movies. I mean, how are you gonna? It's kind of like if you went back 10 years and said, "Hey, Ryan Reynolds is gonna be a great Deadpool," after he made The Notebook, and you're kind of like,
right.
But I mean, Heath Ledger, and of course now he's like the biggest Heath Ledger Joker fan.
It's nice to know, though, I'm not the only one that sometimes confuses Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling.
Oh yeah, okay,
yes,
sure.
Yes, I've been there.
Nice.
All the Ryans and all the Chris's just blend in together with me, so whatever. But anyways,
I think I'm a little different on that. I really enjoy the as far as Bruce Wayne goes, I do really enjoy Michael Keaton, but as far as Batman, I'm gonna get some hate for this probably, but I really like Affleck as Batman.
Yeah, Batfleck. Yeah,
I really,
as long as you didn't say George Clooney's Batman, I think.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
No,
Clooney.
No, Clooney is definitely an attempt to recapture the Adam West days, and a fail.
Yeah,
a fail at it.
And Adam West is on the table as a great Batman. In his own right. I would say, like,
Adam West once said, I never once had to show up and say I am Batman. Everyone knew.
Yes.
So
everyone knew. Yeah.
Yes.
When he shows up in that purple bat suit,
Oh my gosh, dude, it was so obnoxious. That movie, though, the Adam West Batman movie, has got to be one of my favorites. That thing is a riot. What a laugh fest that is.
And you have to consider the Batman comics that were coming out during that time.
Yeah,
though. I mean, the TV series was the comics.
Yeah,
because the comics were crazy, sci-fi, funny comedy stuff.
And I think Batman, Forever, the one with Val Kilmer, was that Forever or Returns?
I think so.
Forever, I think so.
With Tommy Lee Two-Face and Jim Carrey. I think that one was the closest of the
agreed
of the chaotic comic feeling. I mean, Two-Face's cave and Riddler's I'm going to control people's brains through the TV. That, I mean, but it was good. I enjoyed it. That was a good movie.
Yeah, that was so off.
Robin.
Wheels off, man.
As far as Forever, I think Val Kilmer actually did the Playboy Bruce Wayne really well.
Yeah,
and I will always state that they still cast the Riddler wrong. They missed the opportunity that they had to cast Robin Williams and just
Ooh.
capture the chaos.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man.
'Cause
I don't know about that.
Robin wanted to play Riddler, and they went with Jim Carrey instead of Robin Williams. So picture basically Robin coming on stage, and Kilmer, where he's always that straight macho kind of dude, and Robin just kind of looking at the script going, yeah, no, and just winging the entire movie.
Yep. That's the thing that concerns me is Robin Williams just going off on that. I love Jim Carrey's. I love the way he kind of talked his way and acted his way, and I felt like I don't know if Robin Williams could play a psychopath like that, like Jim Carrey so well played.
What's funny about that is Jim Carrey kind of did that too, which is why Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey really hated each other on staff on set. They could not get along because he wouldn't follow the script, and Tommy Lee Jones was like, what is this guy doing? And they're so mad at each other all the time. And
have you heard the story?
Play along.
Have you heard the story that Jim Carrey showed up at some restaurant? Tommy Lee Jones was sitting down eating.
Yes.
He goes over and says hello. Tommy stands up, gives him a hug, and whispers in his ear, "I hate you."
Yes.
I get totally
It was not a peaceful working environment for that movie.
I agree.
For that movie.
Going back to Batfleck, though, so that's an interesting discussion. Who played the best Riddler? But we can't really talk about that until we talk about the Batman. But Batfleck,
I liked him.
I loved Batfleck as an end of his I wouldn't even say end of his after his prime, but I would say the end of his prime. I thought he was really cool, and he kind of grew. So he wasn't so much like early Batman Begins, Dark Knight, where he just goes charging into battle. He was more prepared. I mean, Batman versus Superman, you have to do that, but it was more of the almost in advance detectiveness where he knows, all right, if Superman does this, I'm going to do this. If the aliens do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring this just in case. And he's kind of preparing, being in advance, that most greatest detective. I liked Batfleck a lot, and I kind of wish. I don't think he's coming back, right? They want him to come back, but he's not. He doesn't want to play.
I think
probably not.
I think he did. I think he's the one that played both evenly well. Like he really transitioned between being Batman, being Bruce Wayne, pretty believably well either way. He
was a little bit more of a broody Bruce Wayne too.
He wasn't like the best, I wouldn't say. Like at most, I mean, I have some other favorites. But I still thought he was great. I really liked him a lot. But he was a believable Bruce Wayne and a believable Batman. And it was because of the Batman he played too. He played a Batman.
I think he was a believable
actually his age.
Older, a believable.
He was old man Batman that had kind of had it with Gotham.
He fights more with wisdom than strength.
And he didn't have the flash of the Bruce Wayne. He wasn't the splashy Bruce Wayne.
That was Clooney though.
I'm more debonair Bruce Wayne.
I think Clooney was like, if Bruce Wayne were real, that's what he would probably be the most like. That's really who he was, that kind of smug guy you kind of hate a little bit. But I didn't think he did well in the role. But I mean, he's just Clooney himself is like, I
don't hate you because you're wrong. I hate you because you broke that glass in my head that I was protecting that realization from my making.
You're welcome. That's what
I think with Affleck, it's easy to see where he went with it, because that is based off Dark Knight Returns, and Frank Miller is that dark, broody as well. It worked very well with the Snyderverse. And part of the things that they have Batman do in Batman versus Superman are taken straight out of Miller's Dark Knight.
Yeah. For my final answer, I'm going to have to say Christian Bale is my favorite for both, all around. I think Keaton was great, and I loved him for so long. Batfleck was good, but as far as like the movies he was in, the way it was done, the way the character was handled, the one caveat is they should have cut that cowl a little higher so the dude could breathe while he was talking as Batman, so he didn't have to breathe so hard between each one. It's like the dude can't, his nose is closed, man. That thing is so tight on his face.
I thought that was just Christian Bale's acting choice, but sure, yeah.
No, well, it was partly that, yeah. But I mean, the function of the suit,
yeah,
especially
well,
in the third one.
Well, the funny thing is,
it was tight.
In Nolan's Batman universe, the Nolanverse, is that what they call it, right? The Batman Nolanverse.
Sure.
It was originally a military tactical suit, right? So why would they make the military tactical suit so difficult to breathe in, unless it was his modifications that made it difficult to breathe in? I don't know.
Well, it made him look like he had these big cheeks, like he was this, rosy cheeked little girl, like, hi, I'm Batman, It was really weird. It was like the third movie, they did something and the dude couldn't breathe and it was already bad to begin with. But the third movie, it was like, what is happening? And then you have, Bane, the asthmatic over there, talking through his thing too. And it's like, I can't understand anybody in this movie.
As much as I love, as much as I don't think there's a Christopher Nolan movie that I haven't enjoyed, but he overtunes audio in post. Because I had recently learned that not only like the Batman we heard, the Christian Bale Batman we heard, was not the voice of Christian Bale. It was the modulated voice. So Christian Bale is already talking down like this. And then in post, Nolan turns it down even more.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then the same thing with Tom Hardy's Venom. And then there was audio issues in my favorite Nolan movie. There were still audio issues in that one too. So in 1917 as well. So he just plays too much. It's a little bit like when Pastor goes back to the soundboard and says, no, I want it to sound like this. And you're like, Pastor, you just hear the piano. That's it. Like, I don't hear anything else. That sounds good.
That's a good real world connection right there.
Yep.
Stay in your lane, Nolan.
Yep.
Stay in your lane.
Well, one last thing about Batfleck. Now, he will be in the Flash movie as Will Keaton. So you do get to see him one last time. And then Keaton is going to be around for apparently a long time because his Batman is going to be the one in the Batgirl movie.
Yes.
Now, I had assumed when I first heard Keaton was coming to Flashpoint, I had assumed, Flashpoint spoilers, if you haven't seen the cartoon or the comic, which the cartoon is great. I assumed Keaton was going to play Bat Dad, and because in that universe, Bruce Wayne dies, Thomas Wayne becomes Batman,
right?
Which I love that Batman. That is a cool Batman.
That Batman uses guns and will kill you. That Batman, and what's crazy is like he's a doctor, took the Hippocratic oath, but if you break a law, I'm going to kill you, bro.
Yeah.
It's just so messed up. It's fun.
So that's why it's got to be one shot, one kill. So that way there's no chance that he has to revive him. Or Thomas Wayne took the Hippocratic oath. Batman did not.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I thought Keaton was going to play Thomas Wayne Batman, but I guess he's going to play alternate universe Batman.
Well, are they?
He could still play that. He could still play that role.
He could play that
movie.
Role. Yeah.
So I didn't know he was.
I could play that role.
I've not heard about the Batgirl movie. So are they going into Bat Family finally and doing something like that? Oh my God! Thank you.
Is the Batgirl movie DC?
There's so much there.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's going to be Michael Keaton's Batman in the movie. The one from original and from Flashpoint, and that'll all be his Batman.
So he'll be
Batman. The only thing I've heard of the Batgirl movie is people are not a fan of her costume. It's very they think they made it simple so girls can cosplay her better. Like it's not a complicated costume. And they're like, it's kind of like Adam West's Batsuit. Like it doesn't really look like it's gonna protect her. It's not like a piece of armor. It looks like just a cosplay.
Maybe that's V1, and by the end,
and that's what I'm thinking. I'm really hoping. Like people have the same critique of Miss Marvel. The Miss Marvel outfit looks terrible, but I'm like, I hope that's like early Peter Parker when he's just wearing pajamas kind of thing. But they both, I mean, the Batgirl, I think it looks okay, but it does look a little 90s costuming than something modern. But That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, that would
It's
work.
still scheduled to come out this year. I just don't know
I don't
where
know
they're
how
going
all
to
these movies.
fit that in.
Flashpoint's supposed to come out. Batgirl's supposed to come out. Secret
Well,
Invasion is supposed to come out at the end of the year.
Well, they
What's
actually
that TV
bumped.
show.
I saw this the other day. They actually bumped a lot of the DC back.
Yeah.
So some of the DC movies are getting bumped back. But
They bumped back Doctor Strange too. I mean, that was a while
Yeah.
ago. But it seems like a
Yeah.
lot of. I think they got
Yeah.
too. Did they get too overzealous
much
about
of-
trying to
Yeah.
get these movies out this year?
I think a lot of people were trying to get their movies in because, they missed most of the last 2 years.
gotta
So
get
they're
that
trying
money.
to shove them all in. And then they realized, oh, if we do that, we're not going to make any money.
Yeah,
We're going to all split it and it's not going to work.
yeah. Which I mean, Doctor Strange was supposed to come out next week, and Batman's gonna keep rolling for a few weeks, I think. So I think that
Right.
was a good idea for Doctor
Yeah.
Strange to be.
Oh,
pushed.
absolutely.
Because we'll go see it. We'll go see that. People will go see Doctor Strange. But
Yeah.
but right
Plus,
now
they
they're
did a
going-
bunch of
go see Batman
reshoots.
a
So
couple
I
times.
think they're. The conspiracy is that they learned some stuff from Spider-Man, No Way Home, and so they're reshooting some things to correct or add.
to make that
some-
make sense.
Yeah, to make
Yeah.
it make more sense, something like that. So,
That's cool.
how about okay, so let's talk about this TikTok I saw earlier. Don't have it pulled
Okay.
up. Someone said the TikTok caption was like, when you're an Iron Man fan and you go see the new Batman movie, and it's like, and they're like, this is not the Batman. Tony Stark built Batman in a cave with a box of scraps or something like that. And there's comparing Iron Man and Batman.
Yeah.
People know by now, I am an Iron Man fan. I do prefer Iron Man to Batman, but I don't think they're comparable. I think even Marvel and DC, when they did the collaboration, Batman more lined up with Black Panther, right? You're a rich kid, and you've got the technological suit, but it's not like Tony Stark's suit. And so, whereas Batman, I see it as, whereas Batman is the world's greatest detective, I would call Iron Man the world's greatest engineer. And so I don't see them
That's
connected
fair.
to
Yeah.
side by side. I and maybe it is the color scheme, but I see Batman more lining up
Okay.
power-wise with the Black Panther.
Well, tell me whose story this is. A young man loses his parents and it traumatizes him, sending
Simba.
him on a path to build his own regiment of war machines and gadgets and things. And then he goes and becomes a crime fighter using his wealth and family's legacy to enact change upon the city in which he cares about.
I mean,
whose
if you
story is
ditch
that?
the orphan part, that could also be Black Panther.
Well, it could.
Black Panther's more of an international diplomat, though, I guess technically. But
He loses his father late in life, so
Yeah, a little
it's
bit later.
a little different. But this like traumatic.
and Tony Stark isn't
event.
orphaned. He just doesn't have a good dad relationship to begin with.
Yeah.
And actually, what was his name? Kill him. They
Killmonger.
no. An author. They rewrote. They retconned some of Iron Man's backstory. So the spoiler
yeah.
from, I think it's 2012, 2013
Oh,
Iron Man.
yeah.
He is he's an adopted Stark. He is not the biological Stark.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
okay.
very controversial when it came out. Now that it's kind of sat for a while, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But essentially, there was an alien that came to Earth and like made a deal with Stark that he was going to give him the world's smartest kid. And then Papa Stark was like, there's got to be a catch here. And so he swapped him with Tony Stark and ended up adopting Tony Stark to think that to fool the alien that this was. Anyways, so yeah. And it turns
That
out
sounds-
like Arno, the real son of Stark is Arno Stark, and he's like paraplegic or something like that. And Tony Stark's real mom is a undercover CIA rock musician that would like travel under the guise of rock
course.
concerts, but then actually be an undercover CIA agent. And yeah, anyways, they
How
kind of
has-
made, as I
how is that
explained it,
story-
it really does sound like a mess of things, but it
Has
kind of
that story has that story created a cult religion of any kind? It sounds like it could. I mean, it's just like this angel came down and gave us this great kid, and I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
There's the Church of Stark
and
somewhere.
then they took the kid and hid it. They put it in a basket down the Nile, and the kid was anyway.
Yeah, for like I'll take 10% of those profits, Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening.
So, anyways, boy, that was a tangent. So I mean, whereas Batman is the world's greatest detective, I mean, it never got to the point where Batman's making nanobots to where the bat suit comes out of his skin, you know?
Yeah.
Or experiments with Extremist where Iron Man literally becomes Iron Man and him and the suit are one. So I think, you know, if you made,
that's a good
if you made
distinction,
Bruce
though.
Wayne an engineer, he would be Iron Man. And if you made Iron Man a detective, he would probably be Batman. But the two, I mean, Black Panther's a great detective as well in the comics. He's a great investigator and all that stuff. So, I mean, I think they more line up together. So I still say if they fought in a battle, it really does have to be Batman has to take on Iron Man like he did Superman and like just come super well prepared. But the problem with that is Iron Man kind of does the same thing too. Like he had the Hulk Buster planned. He's had all kinds of busters. He's had the Hulk Buster, the Thor Buster, the Phoenix Buster, or the God Killer armor. He's had all these different things prepared just in case, you know? So it's, you know, Batman, I think
similar.
They're similar, but I mean, again, Batman never had. Did he ever had satellites of stuff in space that he would call upon that he needed in a?
Oh yes.
Who Batman?
In the comic,
I'm sure in the comics,
they did an entire reboot of the DC universe based on that, off of the OMAC technology, having Batman create that. It was the I forget which one it was, but they had Tim Drake go to the future and bounce back and forth and change things around. And they retconned OMAC as his solution for the Justice League after they found out in the Justice League comic that he had the other plans to take each of them down. This was his next step.
See, that was a great arc that they did in the actual cartoon for Justice League that I thought was really great. They nodded to that, where they realized Batman has a contingency plan for everybody.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of his superpower, other than, you know, being wealthy and, you know, whatnot. But
I so vaguely remember that cartoon story arc,
dude. And that's the difference. That's the difference to me in those two universes. Like Marvel has really done a great job of the cinematic live action universe, but DC really, their strength is in the cartoon world. Well, their stuff is great.
Can I share with you what I thought? And this, I feel like it's so obvious, but the problem is that I like both, right? Like if you would just argue like the MCU sucks and DC comics are better, or excuse me, cartoons are better, like then people would pay attention. But because I like both, no one really. The DC cartoons are so good. The DC cartoons are so good because they actually tell the story from the comic. The movies for both Marvel and DC, they take too many creative liberties and they ruin the story. I don't like that.
Well, I think where the DC cartoon strength is they spent 20 years creating a shared universe, starting with the Batman animated series and coming up into Justice League Unlimited, 2 years ago, where they rebooted the cartoon universe. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah. It seems like now they're like, we've seen Marvel do that in the live action, and DC is going, well, we know that works. We've actually done that in cartoons, like you just said, but we can't be like Marvel, so let's not do that really well. You know,
it's more like we're going to do it, but we're not going to take the time to do it properly. We're just going to jump in with both feet instantly. And that's where the real
they're trying to catch up. They're trying to catch up.
I think DC would be better, like the Batman. I think DC would be better if they just ignored the fact that they're trying to create any kind of continuity universe and just said, we're going to make some great standalone movies. And if they happen to connect, that's great. And if they don't happen to connect, that's fine. And just live with it.
I agree.
And the only like Ricky has watched the Arrowverse Crisis and has read the synopsis for Flashpoint. That's the whole point, because
Yep.
the Flash from the DCEU was in Crisis.
Yeah.
Showing the multiverse outside. Well, as DC calls it, you got your worlds there, and then you've got the omniverse out beyond that, outside the bleed. But that's all more complicated than what we need to go into here.
They got complicated.
There's multiple universes, but anyway, after Flashpoint, everything DC's ever done exists in a massive omniverse kind of thing in separate universes, which can cross over when they get the notion.
Yeah. Well, they merged the Watchmen and DC universe too, right?
Yes.
Which I haven't read. I've read a little bit of that off and on.
And that's one of the few books that Jeff Johns did blow. So
yeah, I read.
He hits it out of the park, but that merger, not pleasant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole revelation about the Joker, apostrophe S close apostrophe.
Oh, the three Jokers.
Yeah. That was amazing. I will never remember anything more than that. But so I think too, part of it is while Marvel can make good cartoons, and I hope they will when X-Men is it X-Men 97 is what they're calling it.
Yeah, I'm pumped about that.
I'm very excited for that. I think I shared here, I started watching X-Men 92 with my daughter on Disney Plus, and then I realized she was more watching it just to have time with daddy than actually caring about the TV show. So I was like, we don't have to watch this if you don't want to. We can watch Bluey again for the 47th time. That's fine.
There you
but
go.
anyways,
well, this is also a good thing when you mentioned that X-Men series to promote Ricky's podcast, where he just had the interview with the guy that wrote the Nightcrawler episode. They had a 2-part episode.
Oh yeah.
So everybody should go over and check out Ricky's
link down below. I'll put a link down below wherever you're
the 92 Nightcrawler episode.
Yeah.
That is my favorite one.
He's a great guy. He's a believer, and he's got a great story about they tried to tell the story, and the producers came back and said, no, I want to know about an all-loving, all-powerful God. Go get it. Go write more. And they
that's awesome.
They scrapped
them all the
and they
rope
made
they
it
can
stronger.
handle.
That's
awesome. All the rope they can handle. So
I have that. I actually have that little arc on a single DVD box kind of thing they sold with just that arc in there. That Nightcrawler. I've always loved Nightcrawler because we're in ministry, and here's this very devout Christian person who looks like a devil. I mean, that is what an amazing device he's created in that character. But that story arc where he actually witnesses to Wolverine was that's really great.
Yep.
So good. Oh, I love that.
Kind of reminds me of what's the story of the Peanuts? Schultz, was it Schultz?
Yeah, Charles Schultz.
Charles Schultz. And they were like, hey, can you make the Christmas Charlie Brown a little less Jesus-y? And he was like, well, if we don't write it, who will? Or if we don't tell the story, who will? Kind of thing. I think that's a great story. So one of the ways that I've always differentiated DC and Marvel, and when I was told this differentiation, I actually grew in appreciation for both entities. And that's the way they approach storytelling. Marvel tells the stories of humans that have been imbued with the power of gods. So essentially, they're humans trying to act like gods. DC is telling the stories of gods who are trying to pass as humans. So there's a lot more deity focused, godlike powers. Superman, Martian Manhunter, Supergirl. A lot of folks that come in as already just naturally, that's them. They are naturally a god, so they naturally have superpowers. Whereas Marvel, it's humans that are trying to act with the powers of God. Iron Man, Black Panther, Thor is one of the only godlike characters, Hulk even. So it's like when you embrace those two styles of storytelling, it really helped me understand okay, this is the issues that DC characters have will more than likely be philosophical conflicts, whereas Marvel is going to have more internal and therefore external conflicts, right? Because DC has a really bad problem with scaling power based on what the story needs, right? Everyone knows the Flash is really bad at that. especially Arrowverse Flash, where the CW universe, where he like dodges a bullet in one episode and then he gets punched 10 times the next episode. And it's like, you just dodged a bullet. You can't dodge. You can't dodge.
That show has lost the plot, jumped the shark, and then jumped it 3 more times.
Yeah. So went back in time and jumped it a few more times.
Created 3 more shows based on jumping sharks.
Yeah. So I think once you understand that, you know, it really helped me kind of appreciate the way the two entities tell their stories, which then made me think, well, does Marvel do so much better with the live action stuff because they're humans that they then imbue powers to, whereas DC does better with the cartoon stuff because you're not physically limited, right? Yeah. You've got to have those godlike powers and some of the ridiculousness that comes with that. Most recently, I watched Harley Quinn on HBO Max. That was a great cartoon. It's very mature, it's adult, but it was a great, so much fun, just stupid. She's got a talking, she's roommates with Poison Ivy, and they have like a talking plant. And it's just, he's like the comical sidekick. And, you know, they have to approach her relationship with her really post-survival relationship with Joker as she tries to strike out on her own, right? It's the Harley Quinn show, not the Joker show featuring Harley Quinn, but it's done in such a comedic way, you know, because she just whips out a hammer and, you know, she doesn't have to carry it around. They don't have to turn it into a baseball bat.
That might be why Batman in the DC world works really well in cinematic, you know, because it is one of the few that really does super well, like the Marvel, is because Batman is the exception to that. He is a human trying to, you know, and all his, I mean, everybody he faces is like the Marvel universe, where, like you're describing, where it is a human who has taken on more power and tried to be more than they are. And here's Batman doing the same thing, but for
well, I mean, look at the Justice League. You've got Superman, alien; Wonder Woman, daughter of a god; Green Lantern. I mean, he's a human, but when he puts on the ring, it's kind of like the Hulk. He becomes godlike. Martian Manhunter, alien, pretty much godlike. Cyborg. What would you think of Cyborg? Was he?
Well, he's imbued with the power of Mother Box, so that's very alien.
Okay, so alien powers.
Father Box, actually.
Flash, who is I don't even know what to do about the Flash.
Speed Force, whatever that is.
Force of nature.
Oh yeah, there you go. Force of nature.
Force of nature. Yep. And there's one more I'm probably forgetting.
Hawk Girl.
Aquaman.
He's Poseidon incarnate.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, he's got to hang with those guys. And then not only that, out of all of his godlike, not charcuterie. What's the word I'm looking for?
Cinematography.
Out of his rogues gallery. There's a word there, starts with a C. Out of his rogues gallery, who's the best villain and his most arch nemesis? Another human level criminal, Joker. So, I mean, it's because Joker's a planner, just like Batman, right? I mean, that's why Nolan's Heath Ledger's Joker did so well, is because he was like the antithesis of what Batman really was. Batman is very planned, very disciplined, and the Joker was just opposite of all that.
And I think
that's why his Joker was so good, is because he really enjoyed his job.
Yeah. He really loves where he works. Joker's employee of the month at Joker Inc. every week. I feel like when Marvel built the MCU, they started in the world of Iron Man and kind of built out of that, and Tony Stark connected all that. And I think if DC was going to do that, like the Batman world is where they start. And like you said, I think Ricky said, they just jumped in. You know, they just kind of jumped in both feet and like, here's all these heroes, you know, and you're like, how does all this go together?
Well, the end of Batman Begins so perfectly encapsulated that when Commissioner Gordon is like, you know, we wear armor, they make armor piercing bullets. We build tanks, they build bigger tanks. And it's like, and you start wearing a mask.
The Nolan universe is the one you build on. That's the universe that worked. It could have worked.
And honestly, they could build the Batman universe as well. Oh, by the way, coterie. A coterie of villains is the word I was looking for.
Well, you were close with charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
A bunch of villains or some cheese.
little
He's a
sliced
cracker.
All
up,
the villains just
little
served up on a
sliced up
platter.
villains.
I think with Batman, you know, even versus Justin, your love of Iron Man, the difference, it goes back to what Ricky said. Batman's not the superhero persona kind of thing with the powers and everything. Of all the ones in the books, Batman is the one that literally any human right now could become.
True.
With enough training,
with enough
and
training
cash,
and lots of money and dead parents. Yeah.
You could become Batman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you just have to have that, you know, and
and nobody has.
I say kind of tongue in cheek, you know, Iron Man is a superhero, Batman is not. Only after Extremis, because in the comics, that's when he injects himself with the Extremis and he puts the suit in his body. So he's like the Hulk. He just turns on the suit and the suit dissipates out of nowhere. He doesn't have to carry on a case. He doesn't have to have Jarvis fly it into his hands. He literally becomes Iron Man. Whereas Batman doesn't have that kind of engineering, essentially. I say that tongue in cheek, but Batman really does have all the superhero other requirements, right? Like he had to have that life-changing climactic event that then called him to action, that then, you know, he goes into the super heroics. And I mean, there is something super heroic about swinging around town on a grappling gun. Just like, you know, there could be something super. I didn't have too much respect for Hawkeye as a superhero. You know, it's kind of like, you know, he's just a guy with arrows or whatever, until that Fraction Hawkeye run where Kate Bishop is like, you know, like, how do you do this? And he's like, I just don't miss. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, I can't miss. She's like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't think you understand. I cannot miss. And you realize Hawkeye's superpower is OCD. He literally cannot miss. So, you know, after that, I have a
interesting,
tremendous respect. And so I believe it was the Fraction, right? And so just like Doug said, we could all be Batman if we had that superhero moment in our life where there's that that horrific origin. We could absolutely, because we all can't be engineers like Tony Stark, you know, but we could.
Some of the best superheroes use their biggest disability, their biggest downfall, as the thing that spurs them on. To be better.
They turn their fear against their enemies.
Exactly.
Well, you know, like snakes.
Justin, I would recommend you pick up the Epic collection of the original Hawkeye miniseries, the one where he meets Mockingbird.
Okay.
Because the movie, the MCU Hawkeye, is built from that miniseries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's what fans
and you find that out at the end of the Hawkeye miniseries, because his wife that we've seen in all the movies and everything is Mockingbird.
Yeah.
And his hearing issue comes from that, because the only way he could beat a bad guy is he had to take a sonic arrow and put it in his mouth and set it off close to the villain's head, which blew out his ears.
Wow.
And they've kept that disability in the comics since that miniseries.
See, when I think of comic book Hawkeye, I still go back to, because he really was kind of a little bit more of a playboy in the comics. I mean, when they drew him with the blonde hair, you know, he really was a little bit more of a playboy. So that's when I think of comic Hawkeye, until that Fraction run from, what was it, 6 or 7 years ago. That's kind of all I really thought about. And of course, I didn't really see him that much except for crossovers.
Yeah, we'll go back and pick that up. But what you have to realize is Hawkeye is really Robin. They were both circus performers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why Hawkeye is so showy kind of thing. That's how he learned.
So if Hawkeye, if his parents had died in a horrific circus performance act, maybe he would have become Black Panther's sidekick, you know?
Perhaps.
Maybe. Anything else about the Batman? That anything
they do.
Going off what I just said, I think we need to at least mention, you know, where do you think they'll go with Robin? Will they have Robin? What's going to happen? Because if you go back and you read where Tim Drake came in after Dick Grayson became Nightwing, Batman was getting darker and darker and more violent. And Tim explained to him, you need me as Robin because you're dead without Robin. You're losing touch with reality.
Yeah.
You have to have that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Arkham games.
So Dick Grayson is basically Batman who has healed. Bruce never healed. That's why he's Batman.
I'm so glad Doug is here for this one.
Yeah, and and I don't know what you, Doug. I'm ready to see the Nightwing expression of that whole story in something besides Titan. Titan's okay, but I'm ready to see like Nightwing in the Bat family with, you know, Robin, with Red Hood, with Batgirl, with Oracle, with all that
Red
unfolding.
Hood would be so much fun.
That cartoon is the cartoon version, the anime. I guess anime, but the cartoon version of the Under the Red Hood is an incredible DC movie.
That would be really fun to see on screen. I think that would be really fun.
So that's where Young Justice excels, is they've let him grow up.
Yep. Young Justice is another incredible DC property that everybody should go check out. So my favorites.
But I'm like you, Justin. I would love to see a Nightwing movie because there's so much they could do with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they in the Batman they mentioned the name escapes me. What's his city's name?
Bloodhaven.
Bloodhaven. There you go. Bloodhaven.
Yeah.
They mentioned Bloodhaven in passing in the movie.
I mean, he kind of takes over with like fighting with Penguin, right? And like Bloodhaven and Penguin goes up to Bloodhaven and that becomes a big feud, right? With Nightwing.
That I don't know.
Okay.
I would refer to Doug.
Well, I mean, it's something that like they can set up like this new one. You know, we all know the Penguin's in there. Everybody's seen that in the trailer.
Hey, take it easy, sweetheart. Yeah.
So that's a Penguin that's like mob boss Penguin that could be like an extension for Nightwing, you know, if they bring him in for some offshoot movies, if they wanted to world build a little bit, but I don't know if they'll do that.
Yeah. So before we need to get into the Batman spoiler talk, but before we do that, Seth, what are you packing this week? Are you geeking out about anything? Are you watching anything, reading anything?
Man, it has nothing to do with Batman, but
whatever it is. I want to do this at the end where we just kind of talk about what we're watching. So
my kids are really and I are all into like a lot of different animes, and they have ones they like and I have ones I like, and sometimes they don't overlap. And one they tried to get me into, I didn't like it first, and I was like, let me try it again. I'm restarting it, and man, I'm loving it. And it's classic. It's My Hero Academia. I'm starting through My Hero and I'm about through season 1, and I'm like, why did I not like this before? So I'm geeking out about it. I'm watching it during breaks and while I'm working and doing other stuff while it's on. You know, it's just before I go to bed. So I'm catching up. There's so much to catch up on that. So that's what I'm kind of geeking out about these days.
Cool. What about you, Ricky?
Finding all the random stuff that I forgot I had. That's
that's always
closet,
fun.
You know.
Hopefully it's more fun than like, oh my gosh, why is this still here kind of thing.
Yeah.
What about you, Ricky?
Yeah.
Right now I'm back on a Robotech kick. Robotech is one of my favorite shows. Grew up with that. It was on when I was a young teen.
Yeah.
And it has always been one of my favorites, and it still holds up pretty well.
Yep.
As opposed to a lot of the other cartoons around that same time frame.
Like Gundam.
Yeah. Some of them just don't hold up well, but that one really held up really well.
Yeah. Robotech is, I think, better than Gundam for sure. It was one of my favorites too. That and Voltron.
Voltron.
Yeah.
I used to rent that every time we go to the video store.
I don't think it gets much better than Voltron. Yeah. What about you, Doug?
Well,
what are you watching this week?
Picard premiered this week, second season. So I've started watching the first episode of it. And what I'm really looking forward to watching this week, and I just haven't had time, is the new Ryan Reynolds movie on Netflix where he time travels back to see himself as a kid. It looks great. It looks like super cheesy sci-fi fun, like the Last Starfighter kind of feel. And I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's out today. It's actually out
today. And I just love how Ryan Reynolds is, he's made enough money that he just does anything he wants now.
Yeah.
And you care less. If it's not fun, he's not going to do it because it's just awesome that way.
He's got Dwayne The Rock Johnson money now.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll just do whatever I want and just play myself. You just call me, you know? I was speaking of The Last Starfighter, man, that brought back a memory. I remember I was at my uncle's house and he was watching that movie and I just walked in, and unfortunately it was about the last 30 minutes. And basically just watched the whole third act. And I was like, what movie was this? Because that was amazing. And they're like, oh, it's Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
You ever saw it? And I was like, no.
Man.
Immediately went home and watched it again.
And what a 90-degree turn it takes in the last act. Because I mean, pretty much everything you remember about that movie happens in the third act. The rest of it's like this slow trailer park kind of scenario where this guy plays a video game a lot, and you're like, "What is this?"
Yep.
I used to love that.
You talk about that. There was rumor of a sequel. They were throwing it around last year about this time. I haven't seen anything about it recently.
The next to Last Starfighter, or
I don't know.
Well, this week
Starfighter
I feel bad because I've been watching a lot this week. So I watched Raised by Wolves. Have you guys heard of that? I feel bad because a lot of things I mentioned are on HBO, but HBO has a lot of good shows. It is a hard sci-fi movie, and I don't watch a lot of hard sci-fi. This is they are finishing up their second season next week. The first season, basically, I was hooked in the first episode because the first episode felt like a movie. You could watch just the first episode and you're like, wow, that was a 90-minute movie. It was so good. But then they keep going with the rest of the season. It's about the earth is destroyed because there's a religious group and an atheist group that are constantly warring. And so they leave the planet to go to this other habitable planet. And they basically try to raise the next generation of humans by androids.
Yeah.
And so androids are trying to impart this human history. It is so hard. I even recommended it to my wife, and my wife was like, why did you recommend that to me? Like, I don't like sci-fi that much. And I was like, I didn't even realize it's a sci-fi movie. They have season 2 has such strong religious story arcs because it is about a religious group and an atheist group and them kind of fighting and getting along and stuff. But because the android is trying to raise human life, it's one of those great things where it doesn't come out and preach at you, but it does touch on is it life pre-birth? Is it life after birth? With the quality of life, the sanctity of life, androids, are they life? What constitutes life? Do they have a soul? And then we come into the religious themes of, beliefs. Are we humans creating gods, or are we relating to gods? And so now you've gotten season 2, the atheists are starting to create their own gods. But then the religious folks are losing faith in their God. It is so hard sci-fi. It just encapsulates.
What do you mean by hard sci-fi? What do you mean?
I can't spoil it, but like when I describe it, it doesn't sound like hard sci-fi, but when you watch it, there are so many left turns that are like,
okay,
I don't want to spoil it because there are so many good turns and you're like, what the heck just happened?
Okay.
When I hear the term hard sci-fi, I think we dive into technology. We hear about
it's complicated.
We hear about how things actually are working and happening.
Yeah. It is extremely complicated. I'll say
so. Like a person who is a scientist would go, "Oh, that's the working theory right now. That's accurate science."
No. It raises some good scientific questions, philosophical questions.
Yeah. It looks really interesting to me.
I would say it's more hard. It's less hard in the technical part of it, but more in the philosophical realm of it.
Gotcha. Okay,
but
it's not so like space opera where it's sword fights left and right.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's so good. And then I watched Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt on Amazon.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a good movie.
They're going to make a sequel.
Oh, really? The day after Tomorrow War? Man, come on.
I don't know how they're going to do it since they
you got to stop setting him up.
But the thing I like about it though is it was intelligent, time travel, and they resolved the paradox. I mean, most Hollywood movies fail at both. So
yeah. I'm checking my watch list here. And I started Resident Alien. Have you all heard of that? On Peacock?
Yes. My wife loves Resident Alien.
My dad turned me on to it, and it's surprisingly good. I don't know how to describe it other than it's like if Dexter was an alien. So if you like Dexter, it's pretty funny. It's not gruesome or graphic like Dexter, and he's not a psychopathic murderer, but he's an alien, and it's funny. And then I also watched
Desperately trying to fit in.
Yeah, desperately trying to fit in. There you go. And then I also watched Free Guy finally, and that was
really good.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was so much better than what you think it's going to be. I kind of was thinking, oh my goodness, could this be a rehash of Pixels? But it wasn't.
No.
I was expecting it to be like a dumb Transformers movie, but really it became like a displaced love story. That was really good. I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. And of course, all the Easter eggs. It was Ready Player One level Easter eggs.
Yeah.
That was a lot of
fun.
A
lot of good cameos. Great stuff.
Cameos, yeah.
Yeah, I think the best part of Free Guy was they really questioned what is life and explained it and chose what is, for all intents and purposes, a new life form. That really impressed me.
Yeah,
because I mean, let's admit it's a Ryan Reynolds movie. That's a lot of deep philosophy for a Ryan Reynolds movie.
It really is. It really is. And I'm interested in that because that's like some of my favorite anime. I've said on here before, Sword Art Online. They asked that question. They're trapped in a video game, and if you die in there, you really die. And is this life real in here just because we're in here, or is it real out there only? They asked that question. Mm-hmm. Free Guy was kind of like that a little bit. It really did ask that same question. Like, here's an artificial intelligence. What makes him real, and what makes him just programming? And with a love story, and I just loved how they worked all that out. It was so good. And Taika Waititi as the bad guy was fantastic.
Yeah,
he's just he's my favorite now of like directing and being in the movies. I don't know, he's just a funny New Zealander, and the accent just makes it so much better. These chords
he played
everywhere.
So over the top. It was just so perfect. He was like every stereotypical video game person and CEO in one.
Yeah, like he offers the dude the promotion. He's like, I like Rayman. He goes, love it. I don't have to pay you more, mate. It's like what a change of gears into this jerk. Oh, so good. I love it's up there with like Scott Pilgrim. I think it's just in that realm of
okay. That's one more show that I watched this week, and it's 7 episodes long on Netflix. Guardians of Justice. That is by,
it's on my list.
That is by it's by a guy that has a cult following. It is literally, he calls it the bootleg universe, and he makes his own Justice League. They are 1 for 1. Okay, Batman is called Nighthawk.
Okay, don't spoil it because I want to watch.
The Flash is called Speed, and she's powered by the power of Fast Force. That's literally what they call it.
It's like the wonderful security and copyright.
It is, but it tells an amazing story. And Superman is Marvelous Man, and it really, like, if you step aside, it is very creative. A lot of people don't like it because they jump from live action to anime to video game graphics when they're just trying to tell pieces of it, and like, they brutally kill someone and this big thing comes up on screen. It's like fatality, and it's like so random. And so I was looking on Reddit, and some people just hated it.
It's very Scott Pilgrim, yes,
but it's a 7-episode arc. The story alone could have been like an animated Justice League story, the way they presented it. It's really good. It's also a little more mature on the mature side with the violence and the language, but I really this literally looks like someone wanted. It's kind of like the Seth MacFarlane and the Orville. It really looks like this guy wanted to direct a Justice League show, and they wouldn't give it to him. So he said, "Fine, I'm going to make my own Justice League with blackjack and hookers." And so he literally just makes his own characters. They're the exact same characters, just with different, the power of the Fast Force, like dig deep within. Like, oh my gosh! So they got an Aquaman, they got a Green Lantern, they got a Martian Manhunter, and like the Martian Manhunter, I can't remember his name, but they're literally like, oh yeah, this guy's from underground in Mars, and he came to Earth, and now he pretends to be like, dude, this guy it's so much fun. It's 7 episodes. Every episode's only 30 minutes. It's a blast. You can go through it in a weekend.
I'm gonna do it.
You just threw out a Futurama reference. You guys know Futurama's coming back to Hulu.
Yeah. Did they ever get Bender, or
they got Bender back?
They got him back.
Signed on.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And going to get 20 new episodes of Futurama.
Wow.
As long as it's not Arrested Development season 4 and 5, I think we'll be all right.
Oh, one other thing I'm watching is I'm still loving Superman and Lois.
Is it good? I heard it got a little more.
That one looks
goofy.
good.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
cool.
It's still solid. They're dealing with good stuff on there, and it is not the typical CW woke show.
Yeah,
it's on my list
there's
now.
a couple of little twinges, but nothing like the usual stuff. It's still solid, and it's really, really good.
Nice. It's on my list. I think after Resident Alien, I think it's next on my list. So, all right, we're going to move into the Batman spoilers. So if you have not watched the Batman or do not want to be spoiled, thank you for watching. And we'll be here again in a couple weeks. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the like button, all that stuff. If you're watching on the podcast, listening on the podcast, hey, leave us a review. I don't know. We're very informal about
subscribe.
This.
Hang out.
Subscribe on the podcast if you haven't already. Click the link
Go
below.
give someone a random compliment.
I tell you what, here's your call to action. Okay, after you like and subscribe and all that stuff, in the link below, I'm going to put that episode with Ricky's interview with the writer of Nightcrawler. That episode, yes. I'm going to put that link down below. Ricky will appreciate the SEO juice, but also
that would be great.
It's just a good episode you need to listen to. And then maybe if I impress Ricky enough, he'll invite me back to be a guest on his show.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk spoilers. I'm going to put a little sound here for spoilers. And let's talk the Batman spoilers. So, thought it was good.
Yeah. Pretty great.
It's good. I loved young Batman who makes mistakes, who this is obviously his first time jumping off a building, doesn't know how to open up a parachute, stalls his car. And this was
so many good things.
Fantastic.
This Batman does not jump off of buildings and just fly.
Yeah.
He does that one time and it's like such a hard thing and he doesn't do it very well.
Yeah.
It might be the first time he has done it.
I swear it was, because I mean, first of all, he didn't just jump off. Like he had to snap and snug and
it was like, suit. Let me put together this contraption.
Yeah, he had to assemble his suit to like make it glide.
He made a wingsuit. He
turned it into essentially, yeah. And he didn't know when to open the parachute. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah. And now this is super spoiler, but Seth, have you seen the already loophole that Batman could have solved the Riddler mystery within the first clue?
No.
So they're talking about he has the pictures of the mob bosses and he's like, bring this guy to light or whatever. Those pictures are taken from his window. So if Batman had just thought of where was this picture taken, that would have led him straight to the Riddler's apartment.
Wow.
Talk about young Batman.
Whoops. Missed it.
Could have solved it in the first 10 minutes.
Obviously didn't have the big bat computer.
Yeah, hey, there's a point right there. His gadgets and his tech is homemade in this film. Like he has all the money, but even at the beginning, they talk about how he's not paying attention to the business. So he might be actually losing money already. Yeah. And so he's not like going out and like commissioning this shiny new gadget.
He's bleeding money because they keep taking money out of that revitalization project. Like that's why
that's what money. And you end up finding out that's a big part of the plot. But it's so interesting to see how his car is made at home. The Batmobile is like, I got this really sweet ride and I strapped a jet engine to it. And
you see it earlier.
It looks like
you just see the motor blocks sitting in the back of the Batcave.
Yeah, his suit, it's like he's bulletproof and all that, and that's really cool because man, does he take a couple. But it's like his gadgetry looks like a little bit of like Batman Arkham Knight, that video game where everything is old but cool. Yeah. And used. It's like the Star Wars beat up old universe of the trilogy, that kind of feel to it.
Now that I'm thinking about his gadgets, he didn't really use his utility belt. All of his gadgets were on him. The batarang was on his chest. That was literally the bat symbol was the batarang. He had something coming out of his gloves. I can't remember what it was. The only thing that he pulled out of his utility belt is the venom, which was it venom or was it just adrenaline?
I think it was an adrenaline shot.
At first, I thought it was an adrenaline shot until someone pointed out, why would they make it glow green? Like it has to be venom.
I don't know. Venom from what?
The venom, the chemical.
Bane.
Oh, like the Bane stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that venom. Oh my gosh. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, I didn't either until someone told me.
A lot of people are saying that's probably where they're going.
If it's not venom, the writers blew their job. Like there is no reason you make a glowing green liquid that you boost in yourself, and then you which by the way, he had the syringe hole, right? He had it plugged up like a little baby bathtub, like a little blowy thing. Like he just unplugged it, stuck the syringe in there. Like he knew he was going to use that eventually. But I mean, why would you make it glowing green if it's not venom? Like that is so opposite of Chekhov's gun. If they don't make it venom,
a lot of people are suggesting they're going to go down a storyline where he kind of gets dependent on it. And they might go down in a bottle with it. Yeah, that's the storyline I think.
Interesting.
And maybe it's Robin that rescues him. They're saying the clown posse, that one guy that was unsure, he had the half painted face at the front. They're saying he could be Robin, which I don't know, maybe.
I wondered that. I was like, it's a little early for Tim Drake because it would have to be the Tim Drake. I'm sorry, not Tim Drake. Yeah. No, Jason. That would be a Jason Todd, I would think.
Jason Todd. Okay, yeah.
Jason came out of the Life of Crime.
Yeah, Jason Todd came from the streets.
Yeah, so it could have been Jason Todd, and I thought, is that what they would have had to have at least one other Robin by then? So I don't know, but I mean, if they're building a world, maybe they got some time to flesh it out and with a young Batman.
I love this world. I think it's the best Gotham we've seen since Batman Returns. I think Nolan, that's enough. Man, maybe I don't like the Nolan trilogy. I think that's what Nolan messed up. Was the first Gotham was New York, the second Gotham was Chicago, the third, The Dark Knight Rises, was Philadelphia. Like, pick a Gotham, right? Like, this Gotham was good.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this version of Batman, we said they all have their different like genre. Like, you know, Nolan Batman was very militarized Batman versus, you know, your 89 was Gothic carnival Batman with toys and stuff. But this one is this is like true crime. Like you said, detective Batman. This is a murder story, a thriller, a psychological thriller where you're dealing with like mental issues.
It was on This Week in Tech, and they were just talking about the Batman, and one of the guests made a very good point. She said, "This is the first Batman that we can tell is obviously having issues because his parents were murdered in front of him." Like, this is not something that you just blow away.
Dude's messed up.
This is on his shoulders. He has mental issues, whether you call it depression or just whatever. And I really do. Some people are like, well, he doesn't really, Robert Pattinson doesn't really play a good Bruce Wayne, but that's because there is no good Bruce Wayne. I mean,
how can he with this kind of trauma? Like, dude, he's the same. He's the same, I think, in this film.
Some people were saying, I've only watched it once, and I probably won't watch it again until it comes out on DVD, so I can watch it at home. But they're saying like if you put a bat suit on him when he's Bruce Wayne, he would be Batman. Like he's literally, when he's Bruce Wayne, he's just Batman without the suit. He acts the same, he talks the same, he slowly walks, he stands the same, which I realize now looking back, he always stands like this when he's Bruce Wayne. He doesn't really, you know, and apparently it was a directorial choice. Like when he has the eye makeup that's all smushed and he's got the bad hair, and it's like, because he really doesn't care about doing his hair and fixing his makeup because he knows he's just going to put that cowl back on. He does not care about any of that. And I think that's
the dynamic they have. He has with Alfred, is that Alfred's trying to get him to put on the Bruce Wayne persona, and he's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not there. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to be part of that. Like he has no interest.
That's the thing with Alfred too, is he's always tried to bring Bruce back to reality. He just couldn't.
Yeah, because if Bruce doesn't come to reality, I don't think Alfred has a job.
In the comics, he's always been that.
Yes.
In the comics, I think I said in the show, in the comics, it was Alfred's idea to be a playboy. Like you've got to have something, otherwise they're going to put 2 and 2 together. This Alfred, I think, was okay. I really want to read. There's a prequel novel that I just learned about.
Really?
Where it goes into the backstory about how Alfred trained Batman. Because in this universe, Alfred trained Batman, not Ra's al Ghul. And so Alfred trained Batman and talks about how like he started being Batman. So it's almost like year 0.
Yeah, it's called Before the Batman.
Before the Batman. I heard it was good.
Yeah.
Good novel. Probably do the audiobook.
Well, that raises one question. Is the Alfred TV series based in the Batman universe? Or have you all seen it?
Penguin's going to be.
No. There's an Alfred TV series that's taking place when he's a British soldier and agent.
Oh.
I'm not sure
about
that.
Now.
All Alfreds
there's
have been
2 or 3 seasons out, and they're doing more.
All Alfreds have been what's the word I'm looking for? Veterans. I don't know if that's the right.
They have a background.
They all have a military background. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Whether
Right.
that's
So I don't
military,
know. I just kinda,
psyops.
that thought came in. I just kind of
ops.
wondered, if you all seen it to see whether it might tie in or not. So
I'm not sure it's going to tie in, but I believe they're saying Gotham PD is going to be in this universe.
Yeah.
okay,
So Gotham.
cool.
They're going to do Gotham Central, which is on my reading list too.
Gotham Central. Okay.
And the Penguin, which Penguin thought was good. Thought he did a good job. I mean, it's another great acting job. He wasn't over cartoonized. He was literally a gangster. One of
This
the
was
family
Detective
leaders.
Batman versus the mob.
Yeah.
And everybody's a mobster. Like there aren't any like over the top. Even the way they did Riddler, which I think when we get into Riddler, I have some thoughts. But the whole mob with Falcone and with Maroni and the history there and how they unfold all that. Plus, Penguin is not the main guy. And it's kind of how it's a little bit of a Penguin origin story too, with how he becomes, the Penguin that's the mob boss that we know, because he does have that. Like Cobblepot's a mob boss.
That was kind of refreshing how they literally, there was no name wise, there was no origin. He was just the Penguin the whole time. He wasn't even the Penguin. They just called him Penguin. Like, oh, that's where Penguin's hanging, and not where the Penguin is hanging. That's where Penguin's hanging. Like it was literally his name. That was just his street name.
Did he wear a tux the whole time? I mean, I think he was in a tux most of the time. Some kind of version of that.
I think so. Yeah.
That
So what did you think? What did you think of the Riddler?
Ooh,
Ted Cruz is the Riddler,
bro. That was I didn't know how they were going to do the Riddler and make him scary. He's always been goofy. He's been Jim Carrey. He's even from the original Batman, Adam West. It was like, what?
He was a joke. He was a jester.
He's a jester, and it's like we already got that kind of with Joker, so you don't really need the Riddler in any way. And the games he plays, like the best version of Riddler, I guess, would be the Arkham Knight kind of Riddler, the Arkham games.
Oh yeah,
Riddler,
pretty good.
And I'm still like, you're kind of annoying. Like I don't like you. Yeah. This Riddler scared the crap out of me, and the reason is because if you've seen. Okay, a little bit. Follow me on this logic a little bit. What he reminded me of, have you seen the documentary on HBO called Q? It's about QAnon. Okay, so this Robert Watkins guy, who they think is Q, who's doing all the QAnon stuff, he runs like 8chan. He runs the website 8chan. It used to be 4chan, now it's 8chan. This is like dark web stuff. Mm-hmm. Everything about the Riddler reminded me of that guy.
No, they were definitely, I mean, especially with the second, third
so
act.
Much. Yes. And then you see how it played out. I'm like, that's the kind of thing that he would do that would radicalize people, and then they would do what they did. Like the last whole half, Riddler's in jail. And you're still fighting the Riddler. Mm-hmm. Because he has. And what's crazy is like you see that post he put up on the dark web of their world. At the end, he's like, "This community has really meant a lot." And he starts off with like, "Hey guys, I want to say thanks to my community about helping me learn about detonators. That was really helpful."
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, we think we want an uncensored internet. We don't. That's uncensored internet. Uncensored internet.
I would still disagree.
Together
that's a different conversation. I would still disagree with you because even then,
it's so scary.
He literally says like, "I want to thank my 500 followers." Like 500, dude. Come on, we all have more than that.
500 people did all that.
Yeah, in a
that's
movie,
still
in a
scary.
fantasy movie. I mean, it's that's the
It could
thing though,
happen.
is that because there's an uncensored internet, they can then, I mean, if Gotham wasn't so corrupted, they could track who those people are. They could
Yeah,
find those 500 people and find out where they are, who
maybe.
they are. There's stuff that they can do. If you drive it underground, they become harder to track. And so,
Yeah.
that's one of the things where they were just so corrupted. I don't think anyone cared. Which, okay, so let's talk about the 2 third acts. There
Yeah.
were 2 third acts in this movie.
There were. Yeah.
He
There were.
captures Riddler, and then nope, we're only 2 hours in.
Nope,
You got another
we're still going.
50 minutes. That
Yeah.
seemed a little long, but to see the transition from when he goes from revenge taking vigilante to Gotham hope giving Batman.
Yeah.
And you see him
That's
actually,
good.
instead of taking revenge, he is leading people out of the stadium. I think that through that light, the second, third act makes a lot more sense.
They needed that.
Yeah.
Because if you ended it where he just catches the Riddler, you still got a broken Batman. You don't know
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah. I think that was good. I didn't care what they did with Catwoman. I did not care for this Catwoman. I feel like the Catwoman, I feel like she needs to be an opportunistic criminal.
Mhm.
This Catwoman felt like down on her luck. I have nothing else to do but rob people, and even then, I'm still oppressed, kind of thing. Like I didn't like that.
I kind of got that a little. They just didn't flesh it out very much.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I thought she was just like, okay. I thought she was just I don't know, like she didn't steal because of the joy of it or the cleverness of it. She just
Mhm.
she did it. I don't know. I feel like Catwoman needs to be a little bit more clever and a little bit more comic-y. This one, she was just sad. Didn't care for it.
Everybody was.
Yeah,
This
that's
was a
true.
very depressing.
I don't know.
movie.
Batman seemed pretty
Uh,
happy when he was beating up those criminals.
Well, yeah, he gets joy where he can find it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I got to take off. Any other thoughts on the Batman?
I'm excited that it
Fun.
did smashingly well box office wise, because that means
Yeah.
you get more.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
hopefully you get less garbage. That's one thing I'm like, I am so glad, not saying that everything that Marvel did last year was garbage, but just Eternals. I am so glad, one,
I like the Turtles.
it's garbage.
was
I am so
okay.
glad that one, Spider-Man came out only 1 month after the Eternals, and two, that Marvel's best movie of 2021 was a Sony movie. Like, can you
Yes.
please
Mhm.
learn something from that? So I'm hoping the way they started doing reshoots in Doctor Strange after Spider-Man. I'm hoping that after this, they'll kind of like, okay, it's not so much that we just want dark stuff, it's that we want dark stuff that has character arcs. We
Yeah.
don't just want a sad, gloomy Batman and
It's
a
got to be
psychopathic
character
Riddler.
driven. It's
There's
got to be.
got to
yeah.
be some story arcs. There's got to be some growth. And they, like you said, they could have just ended it at capturing the Riddler, maybe climax when they shoot Falcone, not Falcone. No, they called him Falcone. They didn't call him Falcone, which is actually how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Yeah.
They changed it to Falcone because of that riddle. I think if they had ended it there, yeah, it would have been a good movie, but it wouldn't have been so character growing. He has to have that revelation of
Mhm.
I'm not that much different than the Riddler unless I make this turn.
Mhm.
So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It's
Yeah.
just under The Dark Knight for me.
Right. I was the same. It's like B plus, A minus, for most part. But, I still think Dark Knight is the best Batman movie I've seen. But this was a good take on it. And that's what I loved about it, is that it was so different than
Yeah.
other things that we've seen.
And I hope that's not going to be too distracting. As comic book readers, we're used to it. Every artist is going to draw characters different. They're going to write characters different. In the movies,
Mhm.
someone said, the average person might have some issues because they just saw, I don't know why people don't call him this, Battinson. They just saw Battinson. And then later this year, they're going to see Michael Keaton Batman.
Coined it.
Then they're going to see Batfleck. They're going to see 2 other people play Batman before they see Robert Pattinson again. So it's like, is that going to be confusing? Is that going to be hindering? I don't know.
It could be, but I think people
just
are
know-
like, I just like
I-
Batman, so I'll go. It's like,
If the Flash can hard sell the multiverse,
Yeah.
it won't be a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
I did hear that Pattinson was not quite as amused as what people would think with the timing of the announcement of Keaton's return. He felt it kind of overshadowed his moment. So,
And
which
you
I
hit
can
it
understand.
You hit an interesting point. You hit an interesting point that the thing I could see with this version of Batman having problems is Pattinson tends to be a little extra with some things in his own life. So he takes himself really seriously. And I think that's where Ben Affleck kind of went wrong. He takes himself
Ben
really
Affleck
seriously.
Takes himself really seriously.
And so it's like, I'm Batman. It's like, you're not really Batman, dude. You're like lighten up. It's a superhero film. It's fun, So I feel like that could end up, it's kind of like the same thing we're seeing with Black Panther. Like you've got some problems on the set. That could jeopardize the whole story because of the problems on the set. And it's like, that's real world stuff coming into the universe that you hate to see it, but
that's why I don't follow a lot of actors on Twitter or Facebook or read their news. It just ruins the art for me.
Just let them be the character, and it's fine. That's really, these are people that lie for a living. So
we have to look at
play other people
we have to look at Keaton as the king of comic book movies now, since he's in essentially 3 comic book universes: DC,
Keaton,
Batman, and he's playing the Vulture in the MCU and the Sonyverse. So
that's true.
Basically, because we're going to get to Sinister Six next. So
it's coming. It's coming.
Yep.
All right, guys, I got to take off, but thank you so much for being here. Thanks for talking Batman. And
loved it.
Thank you for hanging out with us. If you stayed for the spoiler discussion, we'll see you guys next time. I don't have an outro. That's just my outro now. I don't have
same Battinson channel.
We'll see you at the same bat place at the same bat, even though historically I don't put these out consistently. So we'll see about that. All right, I gotta take off. Thank you guys. God bless.
Thanks, Jace.
Thank you.
Everybody.